Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday morning. It is March 11th, 2024. So good to see you all this beautiful Monday morning. You all, traffic was amazing this morning. Spring break with South by Southwest, and it was a breeze to get to the office. I wish it was like this every single day. I trust that you all had an amazing weekend. Lots to go over this beautiful Monday morning here in Austin, Texas. Amazing weather outside. Excited for today. I'm in a very good mood, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Lots to go over, but I do want to remind you all that we do have our mentorship meeting here tomorrow, here live in person at the office. We do not record the mentorship meeting. It's always live in person and confidential because we do share things about clients and how we're dealing with clients, communicating with clients. So we do not record the mentorship meeting on Tuesday morning. We are having our Wednesday team training. The first part of the training will be focused on the market report template. That's going to be the first quarter 2024 market report that we're doing. It is due April. April is market report month. So we are going to work on the template. So be sure to join us also over Zoom. That will be recorded. Stats will be published on Thursday. You will receive the weekly stats so that you can post it on social media and whatnot. And because of spring break, we voted on Friday, and we are not having a team meeting on Friday. So you all voted, we all voted, and the no's won. Because of spring break, you've got a lot of people traveling, lots going on. So we are not having a team meeting on Friday because of spring break. Enjoy your spring break. But let's go ahead and get started. A new listing to pending ratio, the single best leading market indicator around. I want to give you a quick reminder on what is the new listing to pending ratio and why do we update this information. I'm a big fan of leading market indicators. What's going on with the market moving forward? How can we look at data to see what's going to happen in the next few weeks? What is the market activity looking like? And this number, this ratio is all I care about. A 1.00 ratio is that perfect market equilibrium, meaning when you add all of the properties that were new on the market plus the properties that came back on the market, that's new, that's that new right there, back on the market. BOM stands for back on the market. And then we also take a look at properties that went AUC, active under contract, and the properties that went pending, and we add that up. And then we simply divide those numbers. When you have a 1.0000, that means that 1,000 properties came in the market, 1,000 properties left the market. That's that perfect market equilibrium, meaning that inventory neither goes up nor down. It just stays there. So let's just say that you started with 10,000 homes on the market, and then you went a month with a 1-to-1 ratio. How many? And then you've got 500 properties came in and 500 left, but every week you ended with a perfect 1 ratio. How many listings would you be left with about a month later? Well, 10,000. Well, let's just start with 10,000 again, but then instead of having the 1 ratio, you've got a 1.2 ratio. And then every week it's a 1.2, 1.2, 1.2. Well, how many listings are you left with at the end of that month? Less than 10,000 because the ratio is higher. So we are drawing from inventory. Inventory is therefore going down. And the opposite is true. If we go week over week over week with a ratio at 0.8, 0.75, well, what's going to happen with inventory? It's going to go up. And that's why it's a leading market indicator. And we are obsessed with it. So first thing we're going to do is take a look at open house. How many open house opportunities existed over the past 7 days? And let me give you this number right here, and then we're going to update the new listings and everything else. Open house over the past 7 days, from the 4th all the way to the 11th, comes in at 2,541, 2,541. Now let's start updating the number of new listings. Keep in mind, this is going to be for the 6-county area. 6-county area, Travis, Williamson, Bastrop, Hayes, Caldwell, along with Burnett counties. And we're going to go from March 4th all the way to March 11th. All of these numbers, new, price increase, price drop, back on the market, active under contract, will lock tonight at 11:59. Every Tuesday morning, I update all this information. So tomorrow morning, all of this information will be locked except for the pending. The pending we'll just update the pendings for the next 6 weeks. New listings. We are looking at already, it's only 10:11 a.m. So we're going to get additional listings between now and 11:59 p.m. tonight. And we are at already 1,261. 1,261 new listings on the market. How many price increases? We're looking at 167 price increases. How many price decreases? We are looking at 970 price drops, 85%, a little bit more than the previous 2 weeks. 2 weeks in a row, we were at 82%. Now we're at 85%. So as a percentage, a few more price decreases. Back on the market, we are looking at 168 back on the market, 13%. That is a low number, and it is the lowest number that we have seen going all the way back to, wow, look at that. We have to go all the way back to May 30th of 2022 through June 6, 2022 to get a 13% back on the market. That is amazing. 13% back on the market. That is a low percentage. Let's go active under contract, and then keep in mind that you're going to get to guess the number of pending. Well, same thing, 560. This is really interesting. 2 weeks in a row with 560 active under contract. We were at 593 from February 19th to February 26th, and then we dropped down to 560. 560 again this week. How many pending? We're going to update the previous week. Well, why don't we do this? Let me start updating the previous week, and then we're going to guess how many pending for this week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the 26th all the way to the 4th, and that's going to be 502 pendings. Let me update the week before from the 19th to the 26th. That's going to be 537. Let's go ahead and keep on going. The reason why we are updating the pendings backwards is because agents are so bad when it comes to updating information, and that is why we have to go backwards in time and update the previous weeks. And we're at 522. We're getting closer. I doubt we're going to have to update this one. This is from January 29th all the way to February 5th. Oh, we do 542. Let's keep on going from the 22nd to the 29th. That's going to be 548. Wow. You just have these single listings that just pop up on the pending side. And we're at 534. We no longer have to update the previous. So how many pendings? Keep in mind, this is a partial reading. So don't go out there and guess 500. That's going to be wrong. This is a partial reading. What are your thoughts? How many pendings over the past 7 days? How many pendings over the past 7 days? What do you all think? What do you all think? How many pendings over the past 7 days? Okay, Charmine at 355, Sonia at 301. We've got Bertina at 300. We've got Seth at 341. What are your thoughts, Gethsemane?
450.
Okay, there we go, 450. Good stuff. We've got 410. All right, let's go take a look at, see what's going on. How many pendings we are. This is going to be from the 4th all the way through the 11th. The number of, you all. All right, I'm just going to say that I'm slightly disappointed. It starts with a 2. 274. Okay. 274. We are entering the week with a 0.58 ratio. So let me give you the range for these ratios. A very healthy, balanced, demand-driven market is going to give you a ratio between 0.85, 0.9. That's going to give you just a well-balanced market. Kind of inventory goes up, but you have to take into account withdrawals, expired. So that's a very nice demand-driven healthy market, 0.85 into the 0.9. You get into the 1 ratio over 1, inventory starts dropping, becomes more competitive. Anything between the 0.65 in, 0.6 into the 0.65, 0.7, you're now noticing a tangible increase in inventory. Anything that goes into the 0.5 into the 0.6, you start experiencing a substantial increase in inventory. We do have a question right here. Same AUC, but lower pending taking backups or pendings. Not even pending taking backup. That's AUC. Active under contract is receiving backup, so just pendings. Sellers not accepting offers? Question mark. That's a very good question. So one is, when you look at why would a seller leave their property active under contract as opposed to changing their property pending? The reason why they would leave it active under contract is in order to garner more offers. If a seller receives an offer that is an excellent offer, just a really good offer, low option period, high option money, no contingency, maybe cash, and the buyer's waiving just about everything, a seller is more inclined to change the status of the property to pending as opposed to leaving it active under contract or just put it straight into pending. The same thing with offers that have passed through the option period, the financing period. A seller is more inclined to change it to pending, and they don't want to show the property anymore. It's a solid offer. When the market slows down, we notice sellers and listing agents, and I would say primarily listing agents, writing out that contract on the active under contract as opposed to pending because they want to market the property. Keep in mind that when you change the status of the property on the MLS from active under contract to pending, we as buyer's agents are no longer allowed to show that property, and it'll disappear from all syndication and IDX enabled websites, meaning teamprice.com, Remax, Century 21, Zillow, all of those websites. The property within 24 hours will disappear when you change the status to pending. If you leave it active under contract, the property will still be marketed to everyone where the seller is saying, I am accepting backup offers. So a seller has to be very confident in order to change the status to pending as opposed to leaving it active under contract. So that's why we look at both numbers, but you also look at this number. So we've got 1,075, it drops to 59, it drops to 54, it drops to 1,033, and then we've got a little bit of a bump up right here. So we've got 1,130, and now we see that drop to 1,062. This number is going to go up because pendings are going to go up. Even active under contract, this is going to go up between now and 11:59 p.m. But this pending is going to go up for the next 6 weeks. 90% of the increase is going to happen over the next 7 to 10 days, but it'll go up. But we can say with a fairly high degree of confidence that based on a 0.58 ratio, we're going to end right around that 0.7 to 0.75. So this is going to give us that tangible increase in inventory. Sarah said, I personally never change mine to pending unless my seller asks me to stop all showings. I agree with you, Sarah. That is my recommendation. I do not like changing the status to pending. I want backup offers. I want agents to continue to show the property, and I agree completely with you. So now let's take a look at the monthly data. First thing we're going to do is update the pending for the previous month because we know it's going to change. We're going to go from February 1st all the way to February 9th, and that's going to give us an 1898, 1898. Let's go ahead and update January to see if any agents updated their listings for January. That's 1808. Let's go ahead and go all the way back to December and see if any agents updated their December listings. And that's going to be 1513. Wow, look at that. let's go to November and see if any agents updated November. And that's going to be 15.24. Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to keep on going even to October. You know who's the main culprit on not updating listings? Builders. Builders are the main culprit. They will just leave a property active for as long as possible. They will not update those listings because they want to continue to market the property. So now that we've updated all the pendings, let's go ahead and start updating all of March. March is going to give us the better picture of what's been going on month to date as opposed to the weekly. I like to look at both. Weekly is going to give us that specific, very timely snapshot of what's happening over the past week. We've got Sonia, you made a comment, slow week. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's what the data shows us. So let's take a look at monthly, see what's going on for the entire month, see what the ratio is month to date. New listings, we're looking at 1712. Price increase, we are looking at 228. And then we're going to go to price decrease, and we are at 1209. There's that 84%. So here's another trend. We now have 1 month where it erased the 2 months worth of gains on price increase versus price decrease. We now have a higher ratio of price decreases, and we have to go back to December 2023. So as a ratio, what is that telling us? Well, we're now seeing a little bit more price decreases. Let's go to back on the market. Take a look at this. When we are at 231 back on the market, 13%. Active under contract, we are at 687. And pending, we are at, wow, this is amazing. Okay, you all, very interesting. So far this month, we are at a 0.57 ratio. Let's take a look at closed. We are at 927 closed so far this month. Withdrawn, we are at 110. And expired, we are at 78. So we're at a 0.7 or 0.57 ratio. June 2022, we were at a 0.58 ratio. That's how all of June ended. We have to go all the way back to July of 2010 to get a 0.57 ratio. And we had a 0.58 ratio June 2022, but so far this month, we're at a 0.57. Now, we're just going to have to wait and see how things play out for the rest of the month, and hopefully agents are not updating the information. But in the past, when we've seen a ratio 11 days into the month under 0.65, it told us that things were slowing down. Now, the reason why I like this ratio is because it takes into account the number of new listings. So it's not necessarily that pendings are down by 20%. It's not. We'll review the pending year over year. It is down. But what do you think is causing this ratio to drop? Is it because pendings are down a lot? No, it's because new listings are up by quite a bit. And we can see that last month we had 4,079 new listings come on the market. That is a huge increase from February 2023 at 2,829. And that's where I say, as a listing agent, you've got to live in both worlds. Activity is a lot better than it was in October, in November, and that's a very good thing. Some of your buyers are now having to deal with multiple offers for the very attractive pricing that's out there, especially properties that had significant price drops on Q4 2023. And now multiple buyers are competing for those same properties. At the same time, as you list your property for sale, you have to be aware of your competition. What is happening in that specific neighborhood? Some cities are seeing a huge increase in inventory. and we'll look over some of that data here shortly. But this is very telling just to see a 0.57 ratio going into, 11 days into March. There's enough data for us to look at what's going to happen for the rest of the month. And that puts us in a pretty substantial increase in inventory. If this stays under that 0.6, what do we get? We get a substantial increase in inventory. That's where inventory starts jumping at 1,000 a month. And we can see that last month we had a 1,017 gain. That's the difference between properties that came on the market, came back on the market in relation to properties that went under contract. So let's take a look at inventory right now. I pulled this information this morning. And as of today, there are 10,875 active listings on the market. That is a 128 gain from Friday, 399 gain week over week from last Monday, 1,022 month over month, or 1,020. We have 1,020 more active listings on the market today than we had same day a month ago. Month over month, that is a 10.35% gain. Year over year, that is a 14.4% gain year over year. Same day last year, we've got 14.4% more properties active on the market. Well, what about the pending side of things? There are 4,492 pending properties currently on the market, and that is a drop of 8.6% year over year. Better than that 9% figure, but it's still a drop of 8.6%. So we've got a 14.4% gain on the number of active listings on the market with an 8.6% loss on the number of pending listings on the market. We're at 29.23 activity index. We've now been under 30 for a week. Months of inventory at 3.79. So let's take a look at some graphs. And we can see that activity index goes down, months of inventory starts going up. This is your leading indicator. That's going to be the one in blue, leading indicator. And the orange is going to be your lagging indicator. So we saw the activity index dropped. And as the activity index dropped, months of inventory kept on going up. And then we had a huge gain in the activity index. The higher the activity index, the higher the ratio between active and pending. Activity index, pending divided by active plus pending. Also a leading indicator. The new listing to pending ratio, a leading indicator, shows us that inventory will go up or will go down. The activity index in relation to all the inventory, what is going under contract. That's also known as the absorption ratio or the hotness ratio. The higher the activity index, the higher the demand, the more properties are going pending. So we saw the activity index improve, and what did we get with that? Well, we got an improvement in months of inventory. That started to go down. And then we saw the activity index go down right when months of inventory starts going up. So let's start comparing. This is the activity index 2023 versus 2024. The same day last year, exactly the same day today last year, the activity index was at 34.1%. The activity index right now at 29.2%. So things are a tad slower today than they were last year. Let's take a look at months of inventory. This time last year, we were at 3.12 months of inventory. Today, we're at 3.79 months of inventory. So a little bit more inventory this year versus last year. And then let's take a look at the number of active listings. And you can see this pretty big jump on the number of active listings this year. We are currently at 10,875 active listings. Same day last year, 9,507. So we've got 1,300 more active listings on the market this year than we did last year. which is really interesting to look at it this way. The peak of the market was October 25th, 2023 at 12,502 active listings. We're currently at 10,875. Based on the run-up in new listings that we've experienced, you can expect us to beat that 12,502 active listings. What is this, March? I would give it definitely by August. Definitely by August. I mean, not even August. I would even say June. June? What do you think? June? I'd say June. It is March 11th right now, and I'm going to put it right there on the line that by June, we are going to cross the 12,500 active listing mark. June, max July. So we're going to beat the previous high of 12,502 listings, I'd say by July. Out of all the active listings currently in the market, 43.4% of those have had a price drop, 52.1% remain the same, and 4.5% actually had a price increase. Let's take a look at sales density. The projection is for 2,445 properties to close this month. That would be a 13.1% drop from February of 2023, which was a 15.2% drop from 2022, which was a 6% drop from the peak, which was 2021. For the month of March 2021, 3,531 properties closed. The projection right now is right around 2,500 properties. So when you look at the number of sold properties per 100,000 population group, we are right around the 25% below average. And we can see that things continue just to drop a little bit on the cumulative side of things. When you add all of the properties that closed January, February, and March, we are looking at a little bit of a drop compared to 2023. Way better than October, November, December, which is great. It's awesome. Things are improving based on fourth quarter of last year. But when you look at it year over year, we're still losing some ground compared to where we were year over year. So be cautious. We are excited about the market. We are really excited. That's way better than October, November. But we've got to look at apples to apples. And when you compare apples to apples, a little bit slower than what we experienced this time last year. Your buyers are going to have more options. Your sellers are going to have to be a little bit more aggressive and assertive on pricing, and you're going to have to be patient along with your sellers for some of your listings. Price it right, make it perfect, be realistic about the market. The biggest challenge right now as a listing agent is that you're looking at the activity over the past 6 months, and you're looking at the properties that went under contract, sold, and then you do your 1 month of make ready for your new listing. And right when you're about to put on the market, you do another hot sheet, you pull up another CMA, and you're like, whoa, what just happened here? 5 new listings came on the market within the past week, and now you've got your competition to deal with. 5 factors affect the saleability of a house: location, condition, price, competition, and the overall market. So you've got to take the overall market into account. A little bit slower than last year. And you've got to take the competition into account. The fact that we're seeing a pretty substantial increase on the number of listings that are hitting the market. Let's look at activity index. And I want to show you a few graphs right here because you can see that some cities are hitting record highs on activity index. Other ones are going down a little bit. Austin, a little bit of a decrease in activity index. We hit 30.8% February. We're at 28.3% right now in March. We've got same thing with Bastrop. That is down a little bit. Buda is down. Burnett is down. Cedar Creek down. Cedar Park is down. Dale, the activity index, reached a record 12-month high. And then Del Valle, the activity index, reached a record 12-month low. So we've got the lowest activity index in Del Valle that we've had over the past year. Sonia said, it just happened to me. One competing, and my client wants to keep it on hold instead of lowering the price. So there you go. So thank you for sharing that with us, Sonia. We are seeing more properties hit the market, and as listing agents, create a hot sheet. If you don't have a hot sheet created for your listing, create a hot sheet and just be absolutely obsessed with competition. Driftwood, we've got a record high on driftwood. That is a little bit of an outliner right there. When you look at the tail end of this trend line, most cities are seeing a drop in the activity index. When you look at year or month over month, February to March, we've got some outliners. Lago Vista is an outliner. That's a very small improvement. What other outliners? We've got, looks like we're just looking at Lago Vista. We're looking at Pflugerville. Pflugerville is doing better March than we were doing February. So that's also a little bit of an outliner. Let's take a look at months of inventory. Some really interesting trends when you look at months of inventory. Buda, you've got a dramatic increase in months of inventory. We had a record low 2 months in a row at 2.33 for December and January. Inventory in Buda exploded up to 3.39, not quite as high as September and October of 2023. We had 3.63 and 3.57. But inventory went up quite a bit from 2.33 to 2.91 and now at 3.39. Hutto, record low inventory. We've got the lowest inventory in Hutto right now that we've had the entire year. Sonia said there's a lot of new construction in Buda. It could be that. Yeah, it could be it. Absolutely. No doubt about that. Builders are now putting those homes on the market. And same thing with Kyle. Take a look at it. We're at 4.48. Second highest, we had 4.75 March of 2023. We're at 4.48 right now. Let's look at a few others. We've got Lago Vista. Take a look at Lago Vista, you all. March of 2023, we had the lowest inventory in 12 months at 3.93. Right now, 10.72 months of inventory. We went from 3.93 all the way to 10.72. I mean, we went from a seller's market, a very decent seller's market, to a crazy buyer's market in a very short period of time. That is amazing. We also have Lockhart. Inventory exploded in Lockhart. We're at 6.26 months of inventory. And then we've got a few other ones that continue just to remain pretty high. Taylor, on the other hand, 2 months in a row where inventory has dropped. Keep in mind, real estate's always going to be hyper local. Let's take a look at Manor. Manor, we've got 4 months in a row where inventory has dropped in Manor. We peaked at 4.29 months of inventory. That dropped down to 3.87, 3.5. And now we're at 2.85 months of inventory. So very encouraging to see that with Manor. I want to remind you that we've got this same resource for all 75 zip codes. And let me show you, there's one zip code right here, which is really fascinating. Take a look at 78736. We started really cold, blue is cold. Then we got nice and hot towards April, May, June. And there's that sales cycle. This zip code 36 has a very predictable sales cycle. It starts off cold, it gets hot, it goes back cold, and now it's getting back hot. It's amazing how zip codes just react to the market. And let's just take a look at a few more things. But for the most part, you can see that a lot of zip codes are going down towards March. We've got 78751. That is a really nice 31% activity index. Once again, pending divided by active plus pending. That's a record high for the year. But then there's that Del Valle, boy. If you've got a listing in Del Valle, you've got to be very cautious. You've got to price it accordingly because Del Valle right now, I mean, we got up to 40% activity index April 2023. We were at 35.5. We're at a very cold 20.8 activity index. Really nice improvement for Pflugerville. You can see that everything stopped in Pflugerville. I mean, 30% is not bad, but we had a massive improvement. We're at 42.2% activity index. That's really, really nice. And Buta's going, so Buta bottomed out at 33.8 September, got up to 47. We're at 41.7% right now. And that's good. Let's take a look at a few zip codes right here. 78739, just amazing. 1.63 months of inventory. Red means hot. Really, really hot market right there. I mean, we've got 4849. If you've got anyone looking in 78748, more than likely it's going to be multiple offers. Be on the lookout for that. If you've got a listing in 4.8, it's going to be very high demand listing, only 1.4 months of inventory, record low for the past 12 months. Then you've got 4.9, a little bit more inventory than February 2024, not by much at all, 1.09, 1.15. I mean, these are just killer zip codes, really high demand zip codes. Other ones, not so much. So real estate is hyper local. Just keep that in mind. Let us take a look at market cycle. And when you have a little bit more inventory and when pendings are down a little bit, what do you think happens with price? Well, price should start stabilizing or going down, but that's not what's happening. We are noticing a 15.5% month over month increase in the average sold price, which is insane. That is unbelievable. $85,000 more than we saw February 2024. We went from an average sold price of $553,000 to $638,000. On the median side of things, we're looking at an increase of 6.8% on the median sold. So we're going to have 2 months in a row where year over year prices are actually up. And this is just fascinating just to see prices going up like this. I mean, if prices continue in this trajectory, we already have the single best March on record. And this number will go down. A 15.5 month over month price increase on the average sold price is the single highest price increase that we've seen going all the way back to January of 2000. So when a client says, how's the market? It's like, well, we've had the single best so far for the month of March, month over month price increase on record. That's true. That is a fact. That's amazing. 15.5. And look at the max, 15.45. That's the same number. That's just incredible just to see it that way. Now, March tends to be a very good month for the market. When you look at the past 25 years, we've only had 2 Marches where prices went down month over month. March is the best month in real estate for our market. That's where prices go up the most. The worst month in real estate for our market is September. That's where month over month prices go down by the most. And you can see that 19 out of, this year it'll be 25, but we've had 19 months where it went down, 5 months where it actually went up, as opposed to March, we had 23 months where prices went up month over month and only 2 months where prices went down, 2009 and 2001. Even last year, month over month prices actually went up by 5.2%. On the year over year side of things, we've been going down since November of 2022, but now we've got February 2024. Year over year prices are actually up. It was up by 3.2% last month. So far this month, it is up by 13.2%. Now, as inventory goes up, and we know inventory is going up, we just went over the leading indicators. New listing to pending ratio, activity index. Pendings are actually down a little bit less than 9%. Inventory is up. Do you think that it'll slow down the increase in pricing? I would say it has to. It has to slow it down. I'd say that it will slow down. But it is amazing what's happened over the past 2 months when you look at pricing. Really amazing. Let us take a look at the bond market. Let's see what's going on with the bond market. We are up 1.5 basis points on the bond market. 10-year Treasury at 4.092. I had a really good question over the weekend on, why is it that we look over the bond market? What is the correlation between the bond market and mortgage-backed securities? Really good question. The reason why we look over the 10-year Treasury, there's a very close correlation between the investor that purchases a 10-year Treasury and the investor that will buy a mortgage-backed security. So historically, when one goes up, the other one goes up. When one goes down, the other one goes down. When you go to Insight and Statistics and you click on 30-year mortgage rates and you scroll down, you're going to see both lines right here. The blue line is going to be the mortgage rate. The gray line is going to be the 10-year Treasury. And let's go all the way back to 1971. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see the entire thing. I'm going to download it so you can see the entire graph. Just give me 1 second. So let's go all the way back to 1971. The gray is the 10-year Treasury. The blue is going to be the mortgage rate, the 30-year fixed Fannie Mae mortgage rate. And you can see 10-year Treasury goes up, 30-year mortgage rate goes up, 10-year Treasury goes down, mortgage rate goes down. Those are very related. And this is going to be the difference between the 30-year mortgage rate and the 10-year Treasury. Historically, the average difference is 2.75. That's this darker line right there, right? So right now the difference is 2.75. Historically, the difference is right at 2.25. That's going to be the historical difference. We're at 2.75 right now. So we're a little bit higher than historical difference. But if you look at the 10-year Treasury, and right now it's at 4.92. Well, what are rates right now? Right around the 6.5. So there's that 2.5% difference. Right now, we're roughly 2.75-ish or so, between 2.25 and 2.75. What is that? 2.5. So you can look at the 10-year Treasury, and when this 10-year Treasury is going down, what can we expect with mortgage rates? We can expect it to go down. When you look at the 10-year Treasury, let's go back a year. When you look at go up, what can we expect with mortgage rates? We can expect it to go up. So in addition to this, we've got some repricing lines. And right here, we crossed one repricing line, a very small repricing line. That's the one in red. We've got another repricing line way up here. So what can we expect right now? Robert sent over his rate sheet for the day, and I believe that prices held from Friday, but let's take a look at it right here and see if prices held the Friday rate. And let me pull it up. And yes, we did hold the Friday rate. So right now we're at 6.5%. We're going to stay at 6.5 as long as we stay right here within these two. We'll stay at 6.5. If we reach this level, right around the 4.18 bond market, that's going to be this number up there. Once we start reaching this level, what can you expect? 6.675-ish or so. If we cross this red line, we're definitely in the 6.675, possibly into the 6.75. So far we're in the clear. I don't expect that to happen, and definitely won't happen today. That's a lot that we would have to go up for it to happen today. But let's take a look at the economic calendar and see what's going on this week and what may affect the bond market this week, and in turn, the mortgage-backed security market. 3-month bill auction came in a little bit higher than previous. 6-month came in also a little bit higher than previous. We have the 3-year note auction. That's going to be at noon. So that's going to be really important for us to see where does that auction come in. This morning, the Consumer Board Employment Trends Index came in a little bit less than the previous. Tomorrow, we have quite a few things tomorrow, and the big one is what? Inflation, CPI, Consumer Price Index. That's released tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. I will post something on our internal Facebook group so you can see what's happening with the bond market. That is going to be huge because the forecast is that CPI is going to go down across the board, except for the CPI year over year. They're expecting it to be the same at 3.1, but they're expecting the month over month to go up a little bit, but they're expecting the core CPI, excluding food and energy, to go down from 0.4 to 0.3. They're expecting core CPI year over year to go down from 3.9 to 3.7. They're expecting CPI month over month to go from 0.3 to 0.4, and then year over year to remain the same. And then later on at noon, we're going to have the 10-year auction. So tomorrow is going to be a huge day for the bond market. And this is where you could very well see this number shoot way up or obviously go down based on how the market positions itself with a forecast of tomorrow. But tomorrow is a huge day. We've got CPI data. Later on in the week, on Wednesday, we've got some mortgage data coming out on Wednesday. This is going to be very significant. Long-term government debt. A 30-year bond auction is scheduled for noon on Wednesday. The government is trying to monetize as much debt long-term as possible. The last long-term debt that we had, debt auction, prior to the 10-year auction that we've got tomorrow, was the 7-year auction that we had last week, or 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago. It was not good. Demand was lagging. Nowhere close to a failed bond auction. I don't see that happening anytime soon, if ever. But the government's trying to convert some of the short-term debt into long-term debt. And let me just throw a number at you so you can get a perspective on how much debt we're talking about. Every 100 days, the federal government is adding $1 trillion to the national debt. Every 100 days, we're spending $1 trillion more that we're bringing in, not a year, every 100 days. Like, speechless, absolutely speechless. And they have to monetize all of this debt, meaning they have to auction this debt to willing parties that will part with their money in exchange for a return on that debt. International demand is down for the debt. So now you're left with what? At one point, who's going to buy all this debt? There's not enough money to monetize our insatiable appetite for debt. That's why these long-term auctions are so important right now, because it gives the Fed and the overall market a feel for how many people are still interested in being a part of the Ponzi scheme. That's what it is. And if demand goes down, that means that the price goes down. If the price of the 10-year treasury goes down, what happens with the yield? The yield must go up. And if the yield goes up and it's closely related to 30-year fixed mortgage rates, what happens with 30-year fixed mortgage rates? It also goes up. The same investor that's buying 10-year treasuries, that's why we've got the auction here tomorrow at noon, is the same type of investor that'll buy a mortgage-backed security. That's why they're related to each other. So Wednesday, we've got the 30-year auction that's going to be really interesting. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put an alert there for me. Let's go ahead and just create like a little alert. And we're going to do an alert, but let's manage this alert. I'll do this later on for you. So we've got this one, 30-year. I'm going to do another alert for the 10-year bond market. And let's just go ahead and just do once. And I've got a mobile app. It'll send me a notification. Good stuff. So I've got some alerts created there so I can remind you. And then we've got Thursday. Thursday is going to be PPI. That's going to be the input cost of inflation. Last time around, we had some pretty positive numbers. It's going to be interesting to see what happens this time around. They're expecting core PPI to go down from 0.5 to 0.2, month over month, year over year, stay at 2. They're expecting core retail sales month over month to go from negative 0.6 to positive 0.5. They are expecting PPI year over year to go up from 0.9 to 1.2 and PPI month over month to remain the same at 0.3. That's going to be really big. And then same thing with Friday. We've got some additional inflationary numbers coming out on Friday. Export price, import price, a lot of manufacturing and industrial data coming out. And then we've got the University of Michigan consumer expectation. Needless to say, this is going to be a huge week for rates. What are we hoping for? We are hoping for good, positive numbers on inflation. We're hoping for inflation to slow down more than expected so that the Fed can lower rates into third quarter of this year. If inflation comes in hotter than expected, that's going to signal that the Fed is not going to lower the overnight lending rate. So we want positive inflation numbers. We also want a decent demand for long-term debt issuance. That's what we want. We want the input side of inflation to be better than expected. I want that. I want this economy to succeed. I want people to have jobs. I want prices to not go up as much, hopefully even go down. That's what we're hoping for. All of that will have a positive effect in mortgage rates. And in that case, you can expect mortgage rates to go down. If for some reason, if these numbers meet expectation, we're going to end the week exactly how we started the week. If they meet expectation, the market is expecting these numbers to meet expectation. If we have worse than expected indicators on inflation, on PPI, on CPI, if we have a higher yield than expected on long-term debt issuance, this is going to shoot up. And we are going to be right back to that 4.2, upper 4.1s. What does that mean for rates? 6.75. Now we're back to that. You match that with some of the price increases that we've noticed this month. We are talking about a slowdown in buyer demand. So it's a big week for real estate, very big week. We can't control any of it. We have to understand it. We have to know what's going on. What's the strategy for a buyer? Lock and float. If inflation numbers come in better than expected, rates go down, what can you do? You can lock in again. If for some reason inflation numbers come out and they're bad, prices are going up higher than they were expecting, and we've got a lower demand on long-term government debt, which drives the price down and it drives the yield up, well, then your client locked in the rate. They're fine. Rates might go up, but your client's got a 6.5. Best case scenario, they relock it in at 6.375. One of the reasons I really like to work with Robert is because Robert's company offers a 1/8 of a point rate reprice. A lot of other companies offer a 1/4 of a point rate reprice. Well, what does that mean? If you lock in at 6.5, another company might want rates to go down to 6.25 in order for them to honor your float, meaning you can float it down. With Robert's side of things, you can float it down 1/8 of a point. So if rates go down to 6.375, but not quite down to 6.25, you can relock with a 1/4 float down. That's why I enjoy using Robert. And also amazing service, and he knows what he's talking about. Those are other reasons why. So any questions, you all? It is 10:59. I want to honor y'all's time. Any questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, or complaints? Any questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, or complaints? Going once. Going twice. All right. Well, I want to remind you that we have our mentorship meeting tomorrow. We will do that. And then we also have our team meeting on Thursday. Now, our team meeting on Thursday, we're going to start before we go over any broker Q&A, before we go over any contract proficiency challenge review or working with buyers or anything. We're going to immediately start the meeting at 10:05. All right. We do 10 o'clock start, 5 minutes of music, 10:05 on Wednesday. On Wednesday. So Tuesday, we've got the mentorship. The meeting on Wednesday, we're going to start by creating the market, market report template. So the market report template on Wednesday, you don't want to miss that. It's a great time for us to work on that together. And that is all I have, you all. If there are no questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, or complaints, thank you all so very much for joining. Super appreciate it. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Be sure to do your contract proficiency challenge. And I will see you hopefully tomorrow for our mentorship meeting, if not on Wednesday for our team meeting where we're going to work on our market report. And then no meeting on Friday. You all voted. I wanted to meet on Friday, but no meeting on Friday. You all voted. So that's all that I have, you all. Thank you all so very much for joining. Super, super appreciate it. I will chat with you all later.